There's a thread, invisible but unmistakably real, a frequency that hums just beneath your ordinary awareness, connecting you to a version of you that already has the life you ache for. Not the fantasy version, not the perfect, curated, high-definition illusion. The real one, textured, vivid, alive with ease and awe. You don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to earn it or chase it, because the bond is already there, not in the future, not far away, right here, in this breath. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to the signal you're broadcasting, the signal you are. And here's the paradox. That version of you you're reaching for. It's not out ahead of you. It's in a parallel now, a vibrational corridor waiting for coherence, waiting for you to feel safe enough to remember it, to embody it. It's like walking through a forest and suddenly sensing a path you didn't notice before. Not because it appeared, but because your perception shifted, your nervous system softened. You stopped gripping for direction long enough to let the earth whisper you forward. That's how this works. Not with force, but with frequency. This connection, this quantum bond, doesn't form when you achieve more. It activates when you align, not from doing, from being, from letting the truth of who you are vibrate unobstructed by fear. That's when the signal becomes clear. That's when the timelines collapse, and the veil thins, and what felt impossible becomes inevitable. You've felt glimpses of it, that strange familiarity in a place you've never been. That moment of déjà vu when time folds in on itself. That flash of inner knowing that says, you've done this before. You weren't imagining it. You were remembering. Because the bond was pulsing beneath the surface the whole time, whispering, you are not lost. You are aligning. And it doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require constant high vibes or spiritual hustle. It requires presence, regulation, a body that feels safe enough to trust the unseen. A heart that stays open in the not knowing. A mind willing to release the script and listen instead for the subtle pull of resonance. Think about the way two tuning forks find each other. One hums. The other, silent at first, begins to vibrate just by proximity. This is coherence. This is the power of your field. You don't have to push or persuade your dream reality to come to you. You just have to hum in its frequency long enough for it to recognize you. And it will. Because the connection is already there. This bond is not logical. It's biological. It's energetic. It's felt in the quiet spaces between thoughts, in the deep exhale after surrender, in the warmth that rises in your chest when something just clicks. That is the language of quantum alignment. That is the signal that rewrites timelines without effort, because it bypasses resistance entirely. And when you drop into it, not think about it but feel it, something shifts. Life starts moving differently. People show up. Synchronicities unfold. The outer begins to echo the inner, not as a reward, but as a mirror. You stop trying to manifest things and start becoming the vibration of the reality, where those things already exist. This is not about pretending or forcing gratitude. It's about becoming so intimate with your essence that the illusion of separation dissolves. It's about choosing coherence over control, choosing trust over tension, choosing to remember that you are not waiting for a breakthrough. You are the breakthrough. Let that land. Let it vibrate through your cells like a tuning fork. Let it remind you, you're not chasing a dream. You're aligning with a version of you that never forgot. I used to think manifestation was about asking louder, about visualizing harder, about scripting my desires into existence like a cosmic command. But the more I tried to control it, the more I stayed in the very frequency of lack. Because when you're chasing something, what you're really reinforcing is its absence. And the quantum doesn't lie. It mirrors the signal, not the sentence. There came a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when I stopped. I remember the way my shoulders dropped, the way my breath deepened, the way my thoughts softened into silence. That was the moment I felt it. Not the outcome, but the bond. The subtle, magnetic thread between me and the version of me who already felt whole, who wasn't trying to get there because she already was. She had simply stopped pretending she wasn't. That's when it clicked. Reality doesn't shift because you force it to. It shifts because you become the environment where that reality already exists. And becoming isn't about adding more. It's about removing the noise, the static, The stories that say you're not enough yet, that you have to wait, that you need proof before trust. But trust isn't something you summon. It's something you remember, something your body has always known, but your mind forgot in the chaos. And when you begin to feel safe in the now, not the future, not the fantasy, the bond starts to pulse again. You become the tuning fork. You become the anchor. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming true. Shedding the protective layers you built when you thought you had to be louder, brighter, better to be worthy of the life you want. You never had to earn alignment. You only had to stop abandoning it. Imagine waking up one morning and instead of reaching for your phone or your checklist or your self-improvement mantra, you reach inward. You place your hand on your heart. You breathe into your belly. And you ask, what timeline am I choosing to vibrate into today? Not with urgency, but with reverence. Because every choice is a frequency shift. Every thought, every breath, every nervous system response is either reinforcing your old identity or aligning with the one that already lives the life you long for. And most of the time, it's not the big decisions that collapse timelines. It's the quiet ones, the micro moments when you choose to stay soft instead of guarded, curious instead of reactive, present instead of distracted. That's how the bond strengthens. Not through ritual or performance, through resonance. Through the moment you feel the sun on your skin, and instead of brushing past it, you pause and let it remind you that you are alive now, that you are already inside the field, that you're not calling your dream life toward you. You're letting yourself be found by it. And here's the part that changed everything for me. The bond doesn't grow by grasping. It grows by allowing. Allowing your heart to open even when it's scared. Allowing your nervous system to regulate even when life feels chaotic. Allowing your energy to speak for you even when your words fall short. Because when your frequency becomes the invitation, you don't have to push the door open. It opens to you. You don't have to convince the universe to respond. You simply become the vibration it cannot ignore. The signal that says, I remember, I'm ready, I am already connected. The mind will try to complicate this. It will ask for evidence, for steps, for something tangible to hold on to. But the quantum doesn't answer to the linear mind. It answers to presence, to coherence, to the integrity between your inner world and the signal you radiate without trying. You know the feeling. When something aligns so effortlessly, it almost feels surreal. The right person calls. The door you didn't knock on swings open. The delay turns into divine timing. You didn't make it happen. You became a match for its unfolding. Not through control, through congruence. That's the essence of this quantum bond. It's not made of matter. It's made of meaning. The way your heart leaps at a lyric. The goosebumps on your skin when something unseen brushes close. The stillness that expands inside you when you stop running and remember that there's nothing to chase. Because what you're chasing is already tethered to you. But here's the twist. You can't access it by striving. You access it by softening, by allowing your frequency to rise not through willpower, but through embodiment, through remembering who you become when you stop performing, when you stop protecting, when you stop postponing your wholeness. Have you ever noticed how flowers don't bloom by effort? They open by instruction of the light. The soil doesn't force them. The calendar doesn't pressure them. They bloom because the conditions within and around them align. And when the signal says yes, they unfold. Just like that. Just like you. This is your permission slip to stop negotiating with reality from a state of tension. To stop asking, how do I get there? And start asking, how do I regulate here? Because once your body feels safe, your field becomes receptive. And once your field is receptive, the quantum begins to respond. It's not that your dream reality is waiting to be built. It's waiting to be received. The bond is already alive, like a song playing just beyond the static. Your job is to tune yourself to the clarity where you can hear it, and that tuning happens through presence, through emotional honesty, through letting yourself be who you truly are without apology. The connection deepens every time you exhale the fear and inhale the possibility. Every time you choose curiosity over control. Every time you recognize that it's not your job to know how, it's your job to embody now, to carry the frequency of your dream not as a wish, but as a rhythm, a heartbeat, a resonance that can't help but call the matching timeline into form. And when resistance shows up, and it will, don't fight it. Witness it. Breathe with it. Ask it what it's protecting. Let it teach you where you still believe you're separate from what you desire. Because resistance isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a doorway, a map, a marker pointing to where your nervous system still needs safety before it can allow expansion. That's the sacred work. That's the frequency refinement. Not chasing the dream, but clearing the interference. Not amplifying desire, but cultivating readiness. Not asking the quantum to deliver, but allowing yourself to receive what's already connected to you in the unseen. Feel it now, the gentle pull, the inner hum, the quiet yes that tells you the bond is real, and it's alive inside you. It always has been. There's a kind of stillness that doesn't feel empty. It feels full, pregnant with potential, charged with the knowing that something is already in motion, even if you can't see it yet. That's the space the quantum speaks in. That's the language of timelines converging, not in noise, but in nuance. And that's why the bond isn't strengthened by effort. It's strengthened by intimacy. Intimacy with your own energy, with your breath, with the patterns your body still holds on to when it forgets that it's safe. Because your body is the interface, the translator between this version of reality and the one you're aligned to receive. You don't have to fix the old story. You don't have to outrun your conditioning. You just have to become so present, so coherent in your field, that the old timeline can no longer find you. It dissolves not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it your frequency. I've watched it happen in the smallest of moments. A single breath where I chose to trust instead of brace. A walk where I felt the air touch my skin and remembered I was already free. A choice to rest when my mind screamed for control. These are the moments that collapse timelines. These are the doorways that seem invisible until you step through them and realize you were never stuck, just out of sync. And as you resync with your dream reality, something profound happens. Your outer world begins to respond like a reflection sharpening into focus. People shift. Opportunities emerge. Life begins to meet you with the same openness you've cultivated within, not as a coincidence, as a consequence of coherence. That's the magic. Not grand gestures or perfect vibration, but embodied resonance. The courage to feel it before you see it. The willingness to live as if the connection is real, until it reveals itself fully, undeniably, in the material. Because the quantum doesn't wait for proof. It moves at the speed of belief, not the mental kind, but the embodied kind. The kind that lives in your posture, your breath, your choices. The kind that says, without words, I know it's already mine because I've become the me who holds it. And there will be moments when it feels quiet, when the evidence doesn't show up right away, when the mind panics, and the old frequency tries to reclaim you. In those moments, come back to the bond, not in thought, in being. Place your hand on your chest and feel the timeline vibrating beneath your skin. Feel the version of you who's already living it, breathing through your bones. Ask, how would she walk into this moment? How would she speak to herself? What would her energy do right now? Not her actions, her energy. And then let yourself embody that, even if it feels unfamiliar, especially if it feels unfamiliar. Because unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong. It means new. It means closer. This is the power you hold. Not the power to force life into shape, but to shift into the shape of the life already waiting for you. To resonate so fully with your dream reality that it has no choice but to reveal itself. To echo back the truth you've finally remembered. You were never disconnected, only distracted. And now, in this moment, you are no longer reaching. You are receiving. There's a moment, just before the shift, where everything feels strangely still, as if the universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to notice the threshold beneath your feet. That's the point of convergence. When the bond tightens, the veil thins, and you're closer than ever to the life that's been calling you. But here's the paradox. The final step is often not action, but surrender. Not a push, but a release. The willingness to let go of needing to see the path and instead become the path. To trust that the signal you've cultivated, through presence, through breath, through vibrational integrity, is already enough. That's when the old reflexes rise up. The need to control, to fix, to make it happen. But those impulses belong to the frequency you're leaving behind. They are echoes of a self who thought she had to earn her worth, prove her readiness, convince the universe she was serious. You don't have to do that anymore. You're not trying to attract the dream. You're learning to hold it. And holding requires stillness. Not a frozen kind, but a receptive kind. The kind where you stop chasing validation and start becoming the source. Where you no longer demand signs because you've become the sign. You walk differently. You speak differently. Your field starts to hum with a frequency that says, I remember who I am. That's when the bond becomes unbreakable. Not because nothing wavers, but because even the wavering becomes part of the alignment. You stop fearing the detours. You start trusting the rhythm of your own emergence. You realize that it's not about always feeling high frequency. It's about being honest enough to regulate back into coherence when you've lost it. Imagine that. A life where every wobble becomes an invitation back into alignment, where you no longer see emotional dips as failure, but as portals, because even your grief, your doubt, your longing, they carry information. They reveal where the bond still wants to deepen, where your nervous system still asks for safety before it can allow more expansion. This is the real work, the sacred work, not decorating your vision board or reciting affirmations through clenched teeth, but pausing when your body tightens, soothing your inner child when she panics, choosing the identity of the future you in the middle of your present fear. That's quantum embodiment. That's vibrational fluency. That's how you become a field of coherence strong enough to rewrite the pattern entirely. Not because you force it, but because you are it, and the world will respond. Not always with fireworks, sometimes with a whisper, a feeling of grace as you wash the dishes, a sudden insight on a walk, a conversation that opens a door you didn't know existed. These are the signs. Not that the dream is coming, but that you've already entered its orbit. So what if you stopped searching for the moment it arrives, and instead started recognizing that you are the arrival, that every step you've taken has been leading you not to a thing, but to a state of being where alignment is natural, where coherence is embodied, where the bond is not just remembered, it's lived. Feel it, now. The exhale, the space, the knowing, the quiet yes of your frequency matching something greater. You're not reaching for the dream anymore. You're standing in it. There's something deeply sacred about the quiet choice to remain aligned when no one is watching, when there's no immediate reward, when the evidence is still catching up to the signal. That's when the bond becomes more than a concept. It becomes your compass, your internal gravity. Because by now you've felt it. The shift that doesn't come from logic, but from resonance. The way your body relaxes when you stop fighting the present moment. The way your heart opens when you stop postponing your joy. The way the energy moves when you stop performing and simply be. This is not about passive waiting. It's about active allowing. An energetic receptivity that's fierce in its softness. A strength that comes not from holding tighter, but from holding truer. To your essence, to your felt sense of yes, to the vibration of the reality that has always been coded into your field, waiting for you to claim it. Think of how water finds its level, not by force but by nature. Your dream reality is like that water. It rushes in the moment you create the internal space for it. The moment your nervous system stops bracing and starts trusting. The moment your frequency stops begging and starts becoming. And this becoming, it's not always dramatic. It often begins in the most ordinary moments, choosing peace instead of panic, choosing truth instead of performance, choosing to respond from the identity of the you who already lives in alignment, even when your environment hasn't caught up yet. Those are the timeline shifts, the micro-miracles, the invisible recalibrations that weave a new reality thread by thread. And one day, you look around and realize the bond you felt in your chest has become a bridge beneath your feet. You're walking it now, not hypothetically, physically, emotionally, energetically. And still, the mind might whisper doubt. It might tell you it's not working, that you're behind, that you need to do more. But that voice doesn't live in the frequency you're choosing now. It lives in the past version of you, the one who believed she had to earn what was always hers. Let that part be held, not judged. She protected you once. She tried her best with the tools she had. But now, you have new tools. Now, you have the wisdom of embodiment. Now, You know that the most powerful shift is often the most subtle one, the shift from striving to signaling. And your signal is clear now. It's not perfect. It's true. It's consistent. It's rooted in the rhythm of your breath and the spaciousness of your presence. It doesn't shout. It radiates. And what it radiates is unmistakable. Readiness. That's what your dream life responds to. Not urgency. Not desperation. Not need. Readiness. The embodied declaration that says, I am who I was waiting for. That says, I remember the connection. I trust the bond. So let that bond guide you. Let it shape your posture, your choices, your tone. Let it inform the way you speak to yourself when things wobble. Let it remind you that every moment of presence is a stitch in the fabric of the life you're building, or rather the life you're finally allowing, because you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And right now you are becoming magnetic to the reality that has always known your name. There's a frequency that doesn't beg to be seen. It simply shines, quietly, consistently, unapologetically. And when you settle into that frequency, when you stop trying to be louder than your doubt, and instead become softer than your fear, something opens. The quantum field doesn't respond with fireworks. It responds with mirrors. And suddenly, the world begins to echo the alignment you've embodied. The bond you've been nurturing isn't just between you and your dream. It's between you and your truth. Between you and the version of yourself who never doubted the connection, who never forgot that you were already enough, already ready, already linked to the reality you used to chase. And now, you're no longer chasing. You're harmonizing. With every breath that carries safety, with every pause that creates space, with every moment you choose presence over panic. That's the real magic, the shift from wishing to witnessing, from trying to trusting, from force to frequency. This is the moment where you begin to notice the quantum response, the subtle reconfigurations, the way life gently rearranges itself around your new signal. Not because you manipulated it, but because you became coherent with the reality where those things naturally belong. And what used to feel like coincidence now feels like confirmation. The phone call you didn't expect. The idea that arrives in stillness. The peace that shows up uninvited. These aren't random. They're reflections. The bond in motion. The field responding. So you stop needing to micromanage. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start asking, who am I becoming as it unfolds? You become less obsessed with outcomes and more devoted to your own frequency. You realize the dream was never the point. The alignment is. Because when you're in alignment, everything begins to organize itself around that vibration. You no longer pull reality toward you. You move into the version of you that's already inside it. And the bond becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a pathway, a way of being. And yes, there will still be moments of contraction. That's part of embodiment. But now, you meet those moments with compassion. You no longer collapse when things wobble. You regulate. You remember. You realign. Because coherence isn't about perfection. It's about return. And the more you return, the stronger the signal gets. The clearer the bond becomes. Until one day, without fanfare or grand announcement, you realize you're living it. The dream isn't on the horizon anymore. It's in your breath, your body, your being. Not because you forced it, because you matched it. Because you stopped treating alignment like a performance and started living it like a truth. Not with noise, but with resonance. Not from effort, from essence. Let that land. Let it sink deeper than your mind, into your cells, into your field, into the part of you that always knew. The connection was never broken. The bond was always intact. And now, finally, you are too. There's a quiet moment, after all the shifting, when you realize you're no longer looking for signs, because you have become the sign, the walking proof of alignment, the embodiment of the frequency you once only dreamed about. And not because something dramatic happened, but because something subtle, sacred, and irreversible did. You remembered. You remembered that manifestation isn't about getting, it's about becoming, that what you want isn't far away. It's vibrationally near, orbiting just outside your resistance, waiting for you to relax enough to receive it. You remembered that the quantum bond isn't something you create, it's something you notice. like a thread of gold running through every moment, every breath, every heartbeat that says, yes, you are already connected. And that connection doesn't demand perfection. It asks for presence. It asks for regulation. It asks for reverence. You remember that your nervous system isn't a barrier to your dream life. It's the gateway. That your ability to feel safe in your body is your ability to hold more. That it's not about raising your vibration to escape discomfort, but softening your field so that even discomfort becomes sacred, integrated, held. And you remembered that you don't manifest what you wish for. You manifest what you normalize, what you embody, what your energy declares as familiar, as natural, as home. And home isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a slow walk, a tear sliding down your cheek as you realize you're no longer at war with the moment. This is what quantum coherence looks like. Not peak states, but consistent alignment. Not the illusion of constant positivity, but the grounded grace of emotional honesty. The willingness to stay open when you'd rather collapse. The choice to soften when the world invites you to tense. And so the dream arrives. Quietly, undeniably. Not just in form, but in frequency. Not just in outcomes, but in who you've become. It lands because there's finally space for it. Because your field has become fluent in its language. Because your identity no longer repels it. It welcomes it. It mirrors it. You look around and things feel different. Not because the world changed, but because your perception did. Your signal did. You became magnetic to the timeline you once begged for. Not by forcing a quantum leap, but by remembering the bond. By breathing into the version of you who never forgot. And now, it's no longer a question of if. It's a question of how fully you'll let yourself receive, how softly you'll allow yourself to expand, how boldly you'll choose the reality that already knows your name, your rhythm, your truth. So take a breath. Feel the connection humming beneath your skin. You don't have to search anymore. You don't have to wait. You are already entangled with the life that matches your essence. All that's left is to live from that essence, to trust the bond, to walk as the frequency, to let the dream be the most natural thing in the world. Because it is. Because you are. Because the connection was always there.